Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our morning live classes.
Very good morning, sir.
Very good morning, beta. And the topic which we are going to continue is from the previous classes that we have been dealing with. That is the exemption entries for the GST. So we are dealing with the exemption entries in certain groups or categories. Now we have the sixth group, which is construction. But before I take up this group, anybody of you has any question, any doubts with respect to any of the previous pointers, please let me know so that I'll take up your queries and then we will proceed. Yes, students. No? Okay. Now we have the sixth category, which, as you can see the heading, it deals with construction services. So, as we all understand, the construction service sector basically deals with the construction, the development, and maybe at times the repair, renovation, everything relating to various immovable properties. Now here, what different construction activities are eligible for exemption that you get from these various entries? So first entry 10. What is important to understand is your service should only include labor service. Now what is this? See, generally when we say construction can be with material or it can be without material, which is only pure labor. Many times, or nowadays, in fact, it is common that the contractor who will come for construction, you give the contractor the lump sum contract where he has to arrange for the cement, steel, bricks, and every item that he will need for the construction work. But that is not covered in entry 10. So first important aspect of entry 10 is that where material is brought by you and you are hiring the labor contractor only for providing the labor services, which is for construction, erection, commissioning, installation, completion, fitting out, repair, maintenance, renovation, alteration. Now of what? Of your house. Now what is important is that this particular construction should be under the Pradhan Mantri's Awas Yojana. So where under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, you have got some benefit from the government and now you are getting your house constructed where you are only making payment for the labor charges and material you have bought yourself. That is what is eligible for exemption here. Then 10A covers services where the construction is done by the electricity supply companies. Now, what are these constructions? Now, these constructions are setting up the electricity distribution network up to the tube well of the farmer. So, what is this construction work? So, let us understand this practically. Now, this is mainly dealing with remote villages where up to your farm you need electricity to run the tube well for the water irrigation. Now, this electricity obviously is provided by the respective states' electricity companies. Earlier, they were electricity boards. In this, important is what? You have the main electricity hub, which may be at a particular place in that particular village, or it may not even be in the village. It may be at the outskirts of the village, the transformer. Now, from there, you want a proper electricity line to come up to your farm so that you can use that electricity to run your tube wells. Now, for bringing that electricity line, you have to create that entire network, which will be those poles which have to be erected by fixing them in the ground using all the cement, etc., to fix it in the ground. And then through those poles, the electricity wires would be drawn up to your farm. This entire construction, whenever the electricity company will do, they will put you a charge for getting this construction. Either they will ask you to do this construction, but generally they do it themselves so that it is of the requisite standard. So whatever is the charges, that is what is exempt. Third construction service is again the labor service. Again, it is for construction, but now here it need not be under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It is where you are getting your personal household or personal house bungalow constructed. Now, what is very important is this underlying part, single residential unit. And further, what is given is even more important, otherwise than as a part of residential complex. So you are constructing a bungalow, a row house, which is a standalone single residential unit, and it is not a flat which is part of the entire residential complex. Again, for constructing this bungalow or for constructing this row house, you have hired contractor, but the contractor will be providing only labor. The material would be purchased by you separately. So charges paid by you to such labor contractors would be exempt. And then this particular amendment was brought in 2019 for the new real estate scheme, where what is exempt is in case of a joint development agreement. What happened? Landowner and the builder, they come together, whereby the landowner gives the builder the permission to construct the building on his plot. In this case, the entire, you can say the entire modality followed is they enter into a joint development agreement, which says that the landowner is giving the development rights to the builder, and consuming this development rights, the builder will construct the building. Now here, the development rights which the landowner transfers to the builder is what is exempt under this or these entries. So what it says, supply of TDR, FSI. So these are the development rights. Or if the land is given on lease, long-term lease, then the long-term lease, for which obviously the consideration is the premium. This will be exempt where it is given by a landowner to the builder, who is over here called as the developer, subject to the condition that constructed flats are sold before issuance of completion certificate. So this entry says that the transfer of development rights, including FSI and long-term lease, will be exempt if the the developer will be constructing and selling these flats before completion of the project. In such cases, it will be exempt. Now it says this exemption will be withdrawn in case flats are not sold up to completion certificate, that is, they are sold after completion certificate. And in that case, the tax which is applicable on the flats, that is 1% for affordable, 5% for non-affordable, that shall be leviable. So this is a conditional exemption, and this conditional exemption is part of the new real estate scheme, as we call, which is applicable from 1st of April 2019. Correct? So I hope all these entries are clear. Anybody, any questions or doubts? No questions, students? Perfect. So now we proceed on to the next category, which is the transportation service. Now we all know in transportation there are two types, passenger and goods. Now here, when we are dealing with the passenger transportation entries, I'll give you one simple logic so that you'll be able to remember and understand these entries. What is this logic? So the general logic that flows from all these entries is they want to exempt the transportation used by common man. So the common man transportation services are exempt. Now, what will a common man use? A common man will use a rickshaw. A common man will use a taxi. A common man will use a normal bus. Normal means other than AC bus. So all these things are exempt over here. Now, technically, or I should say logically, air services are never used by common man. So logically, the flight charges should not be exempt. However, the very first clause A gives you exemption for the air flight charges also. But why? Because they want to promote certain backward areas air transportation. So how they are exempting it? They are saying in clause A that if you are traveling to any of these locations, then the flight charges would be exempt from GST. So for air travel, the exemption is there, but for limited ports, so that people travel to those ports and there is development of either tourism of that place or the trade of that place. But barring this, there is no exemption for air because the general logic that flows from all these entries is wherever common man uses transport, that should be exempt. Yes, Swaminathan, can you please read for me, beta?
Yes, sir. Near my house, there is a Vinayagar Chaturthi festival is going. Some sound is coming, sir. Actually,
Sorry, what is coming?
Vinayagar Chaturthi festival, sir. Festival is going on. So they
Uh,
are loudspeaker and some sound is happening.
nee, but for me, your voice is clear, beta. So you can go ahead. If there is disturbance,
Okay.
yeah.
Transport of passengers with or without accompanied belonging by air in economic class embarking from or terminating in an airport located in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim or Tripura or at Bagodara located in West Bengal.
So
Non
only air travel to these specified locations to or from are exempt because, as I said, the logic is government wants to develop this. Other than no air travel is exempt. Go ahead.
non-air conditioned contract carriage other than radio taxi for transportation of passengers excluding tourism conducted tour charter or hire or stage carriage other than air conditioned stage carriage. However, nothing contained in item B and C above shall be service supplied through an electronic commerce operator and notified under subsection 5 of section 9 of the CGST Act 2017.
Now, this both clauses B and C, they are covering all the day-to-day transports. And as I mentioned, we want to give this facility only to common man's transport service. So as you can see, the specific requirement which is put over here is that it should be non-air conditioned. Plus they have also given other than radio taxi. So we all understand what is radio taxi. So radio taxis are the taxis that you are using or which are booked through all these online portals. And that has also been clarified below that these items B and C that we just discussed shall not cover or this above exemption shall not apply where these services, that is these Ola Uber services, which are now taxable under 9(5), that is they are taxable to the e-commerce operator. I hope this is clear. Now here a very interesting point to note is these two words, contract carriage or stage carriage. Now what is this contract carriage or stage carriage? So for the students, let us understand this. Whenever you are traveling, you travel by one of these mechanisms. How? Let us say I want to travel from one part of my city to another part using a rickshaw. Now, there are two ways in which rickshaw operates. One, I book the entire rickshaw. So the rickshaw is operating exclusively for me. That is what is a contract carriage. Two, I go and stand at a particular place and the rickshaws are running in a particular route or a particular direction where they take me and they charge me only for my seat, which we call as share rickshaw. The same concept flows even in taxes in many places. Plus, if you look at buses, the city buses, they are all running on this model only. That is what is stage carriage, where you are not booking or hiring the entire bus. You are paying only for your single ticket, and that also from one stage to another stage, that is from one stop to another stop. So there are two modes of commuting. One is you book the entire rickshaw or taxi, which is the first mode, that is contract carriage. And two, you are only, you can say, using the facility for your single transport. So other people are also traveling, and it is from one stage, that is one stop to another stop. So whatever mode you are using, if it is a non-air conditioned transport, it will be exempt. Now, when you are using the contract carriage mode, that is where you have booked the entire bus, you have booked the entire cab, etc. If it is air conditioned, it is taxable. If it is a radio taxi, it is taxable. Or where you are booking it, let us say it is non-AC only, but you are booking it for tourism, that is for traveling, like where we have to go to 200, 300, 400 kilometers and we book a cab which will take us to that place. So tourism, conducted tour, charter or hire, that is where we are booking it for a long distance, and it is mainly for the purpose of tourism, then it would be taxable. So other than this, wherever you are using non-AC contract carriage, that shall be exempt. Then entry 16 covers a specific scenario where again transportation by air is given exemption. So again you have transportation by air, but now what is the reason? Again the reason is government wants to develop some smaller airports. Now how they are doing? See, if you watch or if you observe in past few years, some new airports have come up, and many of these airports may not be in a very prime location or a prime city. So they are located or they are established in smaller cities. In such a case, the government is promoting these airports by putting them under this RCS. What is RCS? Regional Connectivity Scheme. Now, this particular RCS enables these smaller airports to thrive. And once people start using the airports, even in the smaller cities, automatically it develops the infrastructure of the company. That is what is the objective. Now, what they are saying, wherever you are using this transport service by air, which is either again starting or terminating at any of the airports which are under the RCS, then it would be exempt, provided this exemption will be allowed only for 3 years. That is a gestation period given within which they wish to develop that particular airport. Correct? Now, furthermore, transportation options are exempt. Again, these are the ones which we are using day to day. And again, the same logic. What is the logic? The logic is common man's transport is exempt. Please read Swaminathan, entry 17.
Yes, sir. Service of transportation of passengers with or without accommodated belonging by railway in a class other than first class or an air-conditioned coach, metro, monorail, or tramway, inland waterways, public transport other than predominantly for tourism purpose in a vessel between place located in India and metered cab or auto rickshaws, including e-rickshaws. However, nothing contained in item A, E above shall apply to service supplied through an electronic commerce operator and notified under subsection 5 of section 9 of the CGST Act 2017.
Now here they have covered all modes. So it may be sea, or it may be train, or it may be road. Now for all these modes, again, if you observe, the basic ideology is it should be the common man transport medium. So railways are exempt provided it is not covering the first class AC cars. Yes, metros are AC, but still metros are given exemption over here. The logic would be that still metro concepts is new in India. So government wants to develop the metro network and the metro concept. Hence, for the time being, metros are exempt. Otherwise, maybe very soon they may get out of exemption because they are fully air conditioned. Similarly, monorails, then inland waterways. Inland waterways are again in many parts of India. You will find that one of the preferred transportation medium is small boats, which is ferrying between two different locations through the water route. These are what are covered in inland waterways. And then all public transports, again, where they are used for tourism. And here the public transport is in a vessel located between two places. So it can be either by boats or it can be by ships or vessels. And then you have these rickshaws, which also includes e-rickshaw. Again, wherever you are booking any of this using some apps which are taxable under 9(5), there is no exemption for that. Yes, Swaminathan.
Sir, in case of inland waterway, only the within India, or the outside that India say
That is
example.
what is inland, no? That is what is inland, no? Inland.
Okay, sir. Okay. My inland water. See, the India is defined under the 12 nautical area. In the coastal side also is treated as a inland waterway, sir.
Yes.
Sir, sir, another question is that in the AC, in the boat is AC is provided. Whether that also is
That
exempted?
is for the time being exempt because when it comes to inland waterways or vessel, they have not qualified whether it should be AC, non-AC. Like
Okay,
in
fine.
case of metro also, as I said, it is AC, but it is covered because they have not qualified there. Correct?
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So till sleeper class, there is no there till sleeper class there is exemption available.
Correct. See, sleeper class or sitting class, wherever there is no AC. Correct. So even the general class, the sleeper class, or wherever like you have the short distance train, which are only having those sitting units, but they are non-AC. All these are exempt. But the present Vande Bharat and Tejas, they will not be exempt because they are fully AC. Correct.
Also, here that the first class means first class or air conditioned coach. In the first class in train, no, without AC, the first class is there actually.
That is what I'm saying. So where it is first class, that is also taxable because that has been specifically mentioned. Like in Mumbai local trains, you will find there is one coach which is first class. So where they have kept slightly higher fees, maybe the sitting arrangements are better, but the basic point is that they want to keep it less crowded, so they are putting it at a higher price.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Is this clear to all? Now we proceed with goods transportation. Geet is asking, sir, can you please explain the clarification of employer hiring for employee contract carriage, page 4.63. Okay, see, what is employer hiring for employee carriage? Employer has to many times provide the pickup and drop facility for its employees. So what it does is it hires different cab services. See, one employer may have his own cabs or his own buses, or at times what they do is they do not invest in buses and cabs. Instead, they connect to some cab service operator and they give them the route. Ki boss, morning you have to go on this route and pick up my employees, and in the evening again you have to drop them to this route. That is what is basically covered. Let me check which point you are referring to. Where is it, beta? You said na 4.63.
Eighth
Yes,
है
sir.
sir.
Right here.
Eighth है sir. Starting hiring of non air conditioner. यही पेज है सर.
यही
Page four.
पेज है,
हाँ,
मुझे क्यों नहीं दिख रहा है?
थोड़े से नीचे है, ये एग्जाम्पल के नीचे है सर.
ये हायरिंग ऑफ नॉन एयर कंडीशनर,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
दिस वन ना?
Yes, sir.
नहीं, इसमें मैं वो एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय ढूंढ रहा हूँ, मुझे एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय क्यों नहीं मिल रहा?
ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ देयर एम्प्लॉय टू एंड फ्रॉम वर्क.
वही मैं ढूंढ रहा हूँ, मुझे एम्प्लॉयर एम्प्लॉय नहीं दिख रहा है. ठीक है, एनीवेज, इज दिस द पॉइंट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट? हायरिंग ऑफ नॉन एयर कंडीशनर, करेक्ट ना? Now, what is the point? Hiring of non-AC contract carriages by firms for transporting employees to and fro. So I've already given you an example. So which example is covered? So where pickup and drop facilities have to be provided. In such cases, this particular point applies. What it says, exemption under this clause would apply to passenger transport services by non condition contract carriage where transportation takes place over predetermined route on a predetermined schedule. Correct na? So I already explained this. So company is giving contract to some cab operator. Ki boss, every morning you have to go on this route, pick up my employees and bring them to office. Similarly, in the evening, you have to drop them. So what it says, this exemption would apply to the passenger transport service in this fashion, but the exemption shall not be applicable where contract carriage is hired for a period of time during which contract carriage is at the disposal of the service recipient and the recipient is thus free to decide the manner of usage subject to conditions of agreement entered into. Now, what is this? Where this exemption is not applicable. So here, students, we have to distinguish between whether it is a transport service or it is a hiring service, hiring of the vehicle service. Now you'll say, sir, what is the difference? The difference is exactly this. So first, as I give you example, I am hiring a cab operator saying that, boss, I'm giving you a route, I'm giving you a timetable. You have to operate on that route, that timetable to pick up and drop my employees. This is firstly passenger transport service because what is my contract with the cab operator? To hire his cab for getting the transportation done. Now, this is a proper transport service, and this is where I have the exemption, correct? But what is not exempted is what is not a transport service. How? What does the second part says? Where the contract carriage is hired for a period of time. Now, what is this period of time? I am hiring your cab for a week, for a month, and what is further given, during which the contract carriage is at the disposal. So this particular cab, this particular vehicle is at my disposal. Who am I? I'm the company, that is a service recipient, and I am free to decide the manner of usage. So I may decide not even to use it. Now this is where this transaction is not a passenger transport service, it becomes hiring of vehicle. See, there is very uh, similarity between both these services, but technically they are different. So first, I am taking the cab for getting transportation service, which will be exempt because this entry is for transportation. But where my intention is to hire or rent out, let me now use the word rent out that vehicle, which I may or may not use. I am renting it out for a fixed period, like many times you take the vehicle for a month. Obviously, you are going to use it for transport, but your intention is not only transport or not majorly transport. Your intention is to keep the vehicle with you, which you may not use. In such a case, the nature of service switches from transportation of passenger to hiring of vehicle. And that is what is clarified, that the above exemption entry is providing exclusively exemption for passenger transport. If you are hiring a vehicle, that is what is not covered here, and we will not give you any exemption. Is this clear to all? Yes. Now I hope the doubt is clear.
Yes, yes, sir. Is particularly when the vehicle is controlled, how and where to use all this is decided by the recipient. Then it is a taxable.
Perfect.
Otherwise, yeah, if it is a predetermined and route and schedule also is there, that time it is exempted.
Yes, that is what is the point. You're right. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now we move on to goods transport service. Now in goods transport, what we need to understand is what are the specific entries. So we have multiple entries relating to goods transport, but we have to be very clear in understanding which ones are covered here and where the exemption is applicable. Please read, beta.
Entry number 18, services by way of transportation of goods by road, except the services of a goods transportation agency, a courier agency, B by inland waterway.
Okay, so first, this entry is very important. Now, we all have heard about GTA. Now, GTA, that is Goods Transport Agency, the services are taxable because of this particular entry. What it says? It says that whenever you are doing transportation of goods by road, firstly, it is saying it is outrightly exempt. If you remember, I did discuss this when we were dealing the RCM point also. So, transportation of goods by road is exclusively exempt except where it is done by a GTA or a courier. Only where it is done by GTA or courier, it will be taxable. Other than that, it is exempt. Similarly, transportation of goods by inland waterways is again fully exempt. Now, so the first step that we come to after this point is that if you are transporting your goods by a GTA, that is a goods transport agency who has to issue a consignment note, then your transportation is taxable. However, within GTA, if you have one of these goods which are to be transported, so if you are transporting any of these goods by the GTA, that will be exempt. So first read entry 21.
Entry 21, services provided by a goods transport agency by way of transport in a goods carriage of a agriculture product, milk, salt and food grain, including flour, pulses and rice, organic manner, newspaper or magazine registered with the register of newspapers, relief materials meant for victims of natural or man-made disaster, climate accidents or mishaps. Next, defense or military equipments.
Fine. So now particularly only transportation of these specific goods will be exempt. Now what we have to understand from this particular list is that this exemption is irrespective of, now this is what is very important because I have seen this confusion. This is irrespective of whether or not your goods are exempt. Like in case of agriculture, like in case of milk, salt, food grains, there is a huge confusion even today. People are having this belief or having this thought process that wherever my goods enjoy exemption, that is the sale of that particular commodity is exempt, automatically the transportation service will be exempt. But this is not the case. There is no such logic or rule. So my goods which I am transporting, the goods, that is a sale of the goods, may be exempt. Still my transportation of those goods by GTA will be taxable and vice versa. Why? Because when we are talking about this list, in this list there are many items which are exempt, but that is not correct. And as I said, there is this thin line of difference, that supply of goods and this GTA, which is a supply of service, are two separate transactions. We cannot overlap both the things. Now, transport of these specific items by GT are exempt, And now if you see similar items when transported by railways or by ships are also exempt. So similar list. Why I'm saying similar and not same? Because firstly, interestingly, they have reversed the order. So as you can see, what is towards the lower part has been put here, correct? So that is just one difference. Now, other than that, what is not covered or what is uncommon is, if you see here, relief material is covered, defense equipments, military equipments are covered, newspaper, magazines are covered, agricultural produce, milk, salt, food grains. So it is very similar to this particular list. But what is the difference? When you see this list has G point and this list has H point. So there is difference of one item. What is that one item which is uncommon? Okay, Geet is saying, sir, I think no difference. Then why is the difference in the numbers? Because actually there is no difference. The difference is C, the clause numbers. Here after A you have D. Here you have A, B, C, but D is missing. Now what is this? These lists are amended. So what was covered earlier in some clauses, those have been deleted. That is, they have been now made taxable. Hence, you'll find the difference in the number, but line item wise, both have the same number of line items and it is exactly the same. Correct?
Yes, sir. Only the C is not there. C clause is not there.
Where?
No, no. The C is the in entry number 21. C not there, but C is there. That only the numbering is different. That's it.
So that one, in fact, B is also not there now. So B and C are not there here. Here D is not there. See, original lists were different. This is the modified list. Over a period, certain items which were originally there have been deleted. Now, this is the rule that whenever you are deleting something in the original law, you do not switch the numbers. So you retain the original numbers. Only that particular clause which is deleted appears as deleted. So that is why you see this missing points. But line item wise, the same line items are there. So in short, this same goods, whether transported by sea, by air, sorry, not by air, by sea, by railways or by road are fully exempt. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it will not the ambiguity will be avoided
That is the
when it.
best thing. So now the list is same. So however you transport, it will remain exempt. Next is wherever the GTA is providing services to unregistered persons. Now, unregistered does not only means unregistered, what you can say, under respective laws. It means over here unregistered under the GST law, as we know. So, when GTA is providing services to people who are not registered under the GST law, then that particular services are exempt. However, there is an exception. So it says, firstly, GTA providing services to unregistered person is exempt other than. So if it is any of these people, and these are the ones who are already registered under their respective acts. So like a factory, like a society, cooperative society, any body corporate, partnership firm, whether or not registered, and casual taxable person who is a specific registration under GST. So where GTA is providing services to any one of them, that will be taxable. Then you will ask, sir, then who is covered in the exemption? Where the GTA is providing services to individuals or HUFs who are unregistered under GST, only those services are exempt. Then where the GTA is providing the services to whom? The services is provided to department of the government or to local authority or to government agency. Again, this is exempt, but the condition is which have taken registration under the CGST Act only for the purpose of TDS. So these are registered under GST, but why they took registration? because their purpose was to deduct TDS, which is applicable. Now, if you all know, under GST, only one TDS is applicable. It is unlike income tax. In income tax, there are multiple payments for which TDS is applicable. However, in GST, only where the payments are made by government, only that is what is liable for TDS. So by default, the government entities have to take registration. So wherever a government entity has taken registration, but the intention, the purpose of the registration is exclusively to allow them to do what? To deduct TDS. That is what is allowed this benefit. So you are a registered person under GST, but you are government, and the registration is taken by you exclusively only for the purpose of deducting TDS. Then GTA services done for such government entities will also remain exempt. Now here the question is, who is a GTA? Now here, if you remember, we had a detailed discussion on this when we were discussing the RCM entry on GTA. Now if you see the definition of GTA, which is given in this exemption notification itself, it says it is the service provider who is providing services in relation to goods transport by road and who issues consignment note. Now, this is where there is a small confusion, or I believe misinterpretation. They are saying only when a GTA, that is a transporter, issues consignment note, he will become GTA. It means people are interpreting that the transporter has a choice of not. Yes, Geet, I am coming to that point. So people are interpreting it in the fashion that transporter has a choice. If he issues consignment note, he will be GTA, and if he does not issues consignment note, he will not be a GTA. But I believe this is not the correct intent, because if you go to the Transport of Goods by Road Act, there is a specific requirement where the transporters have to issue consignment note. So I had mentioned this at the time of RCM, that instead of reading it as issues consignment note, you should read it as liable to issue consignment note. This is how I believe this entry has to be read. Now details of consignment note, etc. are given. Now here there is a clarification. Now this clarification we will go through, because now this entry says, or it uses the term in relation to. Now when you say in relation to, it means you are expanding the scope. Now transportation is only the transportation service, but when it says in relation to transport, then it may include handling, it may include loading, unloading. Now in such cases, whether everything is covered. So for this, the clarification which is given is that where there is a composite supply, whereby the GTA is also providing you, besides the transportation, it is also providing you other services like loading, unloading, packing, transshipment, temporary warehousing while the goods are under transport. If all these services are provided by the GTA, where the principal supply is transport and these are all ancillary, then applying the logic of section 8, even these other services will be covered in this entry, and then they will be enjoying the exemption. So first rule or first clarification given is that where all these services are given as part and parcel of transport, that is along with transport, and most important thing is that they are given as a composite supply. In such cases, all the other services also done by the same transporter along with his regular transportation will be exempt, considering the logic of composite supply. However, where these are not provided in the course of transport, that is, either they are not provided by the same transporter, they are taken by other different other agencies, or they are provided by the same transporter but not as a part of this transport. So this transport is an independent contract and additional services are independent contract. In that particular case, this particular benefit of exemption will not apply. So there are two parts in this clarification. whether the allied services are part of composite supply or they are independent supply. If they are part of composite supply, since main principal service of transport is exempt, these will enjoy exemption. If not, they will be taxed independently. Now, then the point is about what is a courier agency. We have a basic idea because we experience this daily. So, whoever are giving this door-to-door delivery, they are generally covered in courier. Now, within courier, we have nowadays this express cargo, where special arrangements are made so that goods reach to you at a faster pace and in less time duration. All these are covered in this category of courier only. Next, transport of minerals within a mining area by vehicles deployed by driver for a specific duration. Now, this is where an interesting point is to be discussed. Yes, Swaminathan, can you please read for me?
Yes, sir. A transportation of minerals within a mining area by vehicle deployed with driver for a specific duration of time. The issue which arose for consideration was whether transport of minerals within the mining area, say from mining pit head to railway siding, beneficiation plant, etc., by vehicles deployed with the driver for a specific duration of time would be covered under entry 18, which exempt transport of goods by road except by a GTA. Usually, in such cases, the vehicles such as tipper, dumper, loader, truck, etc., are given on hire to the mining lease operator. Expenses for fuel are generally borne by the recipient of service. The vehicles with the driver are at the disposal of the mining lease operator for transport of minerals within the mine area, mining pit to railway siding, beneficiation plant, etc., as per his requirement during the period of contract. Okay.
Continue.
Yes, sir. Such services are nothing but rental services of transport vehicle with operator. The person who takes the vehicle on rent define how and when the vehicles will be operated, determines schedules, route, and other operational consideration. The person who gives the vehicle on rent with the operator cannot be said to be supplying the service by way of transport of goods. Accordingly, it is clarified that such renting of trucks and other freight vehicles with driver for a period of time is a service of rendering of transport vehicle with operator and not service of transportation of goods by road. Consequently, it is not eligible for exemption under 80 under entry number 18.
Students, this is exactly same like the point which we discussed for passenger transport, where a firm or a company is hiring the cab operator service for transportation of their employees. Same point. So I was pointing out this difference over there also, and it is again similarly covered in this example. So you have to differentiate between whether it is a transport service, over there it was of passenger, here it is transport of goods, or it is merely renting of that vehicle or renting of that particular equipment service. So many times you can rent a vehicle, you can rent an equipment. In such a case, the basic differentiation is whether your charges are period based and whether they are linked exclusively to the usage, that is the transportation. If it is exclusively linked to transportation, it will be transport service. But where it is more dependent upon the period, that is irrespective of your usage, you have to pay this much. In such a case, it will not be a transport service. It will be merely renting of that vehicle service. And in that case, the exemptions that we are studying, whether for passenger transport or goods transport, shall not apply. Correct?
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, if I shifting my house from Gurgaon to Jodhpur,
Okay.
and I'm using GTA services. Is
Hmm.
it exempt?
Yeah,
I'm transporting my goods on all household items.
correct. Now see, here is the differentiation between GTA and non-GTA, which we call as GTO. See, GTO is not a term used in the law. We have created this term just to distinguish. Now, what is the difference between a GTA and a GTO? See, where the transportation is within your control, your means the recipient's control. That is not a GTA, it is a GTO. Now, when this happens, it happens in typically the scenario which you have put, that you want to transport some of your goods where exclusively you have taken the entire truck for your own benefit. So the truck is not going to transport anybody else's goods. It is only going to carry your goods, like shifting of your office, shifting of your house, etc. And secondly, it is generally within the city or within a smaller limit, because that is only where you will have control. So the basic difference is where you, that is a service recipient, is having control over the transport, it becomes a GTO and it will be exempt. But where you have given the goods into the custody of the transporter, now the transporter decides how, when to transport, you have no control over the transport, then it is a GTA. So in your case, more probably it will be GTO, that is, it will be exempt.
Okay, sir. So you are on mute.
Abhi,
Yes, sir. You are no. Okay.
just a second, Sudi. Just I'll take a small refreshment break of a minute.
Okay, sir.
Next, now this category says banking and financial services. Now in this entry 27 is very important. This entry 27 basically deals with the services by way of loan deposit advances, which has a consideration in the form of interest. So in very simple words, interest is exempt under entry 27 clause A. But which interest? interest on loans, advances, deposits. Now, many times there is a small confusion that people read 27A as loan advances only where bank is involved. Let me inform you, 27A has no reference to banks or financial institutions. So, if you are giving loan as a non-banking institution, like you are an individual, you are a company, if you are giving loan or like company takes company deposits, in both these cases, the interest on such loans and the company deposits is also exempt because there is no restriction in 27A that it is restricted only to interest which is paid or received by banks. That is nowhere a condition or criteria. So even where interest are paid by individuals to others because they have personally extended loans to one another, or where companies accepting deposit and there is interest on such deposits, that is also exempt. Next, there is a exception to this, that is where banks gives you credit card. Now here I am using the word bank because only banks provide these credit card services. The interest levied on the credit card usage is fully taxable, firstly. Secondly, any charges by bank other than interest, like for issuing a credit card, in fact, for this matter, even the debit card, or for the monthly or annual service charge of debit card, credit card, those are anyways taxable because this 27A is exclusively for interest. It will not cover the other charges. Like in case of banks, you have the loan processing charges. You have different types of fees and charges whenever a loan is given by the bank. All those charges are fully taxable. This entry 27A does not covers any other charge. It is exclusively for the interest part. Then comes B. Now, this is the service which should be given either by banks or by authorized dealers. Now, what is the service? The service is exchange of currency. Now, what is important is when the banks or these money dealers or authorized foreign exchange dealers, they exchange currency with you or they do this for you, it is taxable. Again, in 27B, when this exchange of foreign currency will be exempt is only when they do it between themselves. That is, one bank doing with another bank, or one bank doing with an authorized money changer, or one money changer doing with another money changer. Only when they do it between themselves, inter says between themselves, that is what is enjoying this exemption. If they do it with the customer or client, it is fully taxable. Next, services provided by banking company to basic saving bank deposit account holder under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, that is exempt, that is fine. Now comes to entry 34, which is again an important and interesting entry. Now, what is 34 dealing with? So, you go to a mall for doing some shopping and the mall provides you the swipe option to make payment. So what you do is you swipe your debit card, credit card to make payment. Now, how this swipe mechanism works? So whenever you are swiping your debit card, credit card, there is a bank. One is your bank who has issued you the debit card, credit card, and the other is the bank which is associated with that swipe machine facility. So in some cases, the banks themselves give their own swipe machines. At times, it is a third party agency who is giving you the swipe machine, but they are connected with some bank. Now, what happens is when you swipe your card, the bank of that particular shopkeeper where you have swiped this card will become the acquiring bank. And what this acquiring bank has to do, it has to go to your bank to collect the money for his customer who is that shopkeeper. So when you have used your debit card, credit card to swipe and make payment, that payment has to be transferred from your bank account to this shopkeeper's bank account. This whole process is a service which is provided by the shopkeeper's bank or by that particular vendor who is providing the swipe machine to the shopkeeper, for which they generally charge some processing fee. And generally that processing fee is some percentage, 0.1, 0.5 of the value of transaction. Now, in such cases where the processing fee is some percentage of the value of transaction, you will find that many times when you go to a particular shop and you want to use your card to make payment, they will say, if you're using your card to make payment, you will have to pay 2% extra, you have to pay 1% extra. Why? Because that is what is their bank of that particular shopkeeper charges to the shopkeeper for doing that processing. And the shopkeeper is passing on that expense on. Now, here there is exemption relating to this service. What is the exemption, or when the exemption applies? Where the transaction amount, that is the amount for which swipe is done, is not exceeding 2000. I repeat, the transaction amount, not the service fee. The service fee can be anything that depends upon percentage. It can be hardly 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 20 rupees, 40 rupees. 2000 rupees is not for the service fee amount. Your transaction, that is a swipe amount, if is not exceeding rupees 2000, then it is exempt. Whatever is the service fee on this levied by the acquiring bank will be exempt from GST. But if the swipe amount is exceeding 2000, then the service fee levied by the bank will be taxable. So this is what is entry 34. Then you have this 39A, not very relevant, but since it is there, we'll just go through this. So Swaminathan, will you please read for me?
Yes, sir. 39A. Services by an intermediary of financial services located in a multi-service SEZ with International Financial Service Center IFSC status to a customer located outside India for international financial service in currencies other than Indian rupees. Explanation. For the purposes of this entry, the intermediary of financial services in IFSC is a person who is permitted or recognized as such by the Government of India or any regulator appointed for regulations of IFSC, or who is treated as a person resident outside India under the Foreign Exchange Management International Financial Service Center Regulation 2015, or who is registered under the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India International Financial Service Center Guidelines 2015 as IFSC Insurance Office, or who is permitted as such by Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI) under the Securities and Exchange Board of India International Financial Service Center Guidelines 2015.
So this is a very specific service by intermediaries of this financial service centers which are located in SEZ. So this is a particular service which has been given exemption. Now there is one query in the chat box relating to this entry. I'll put on this query. I want your answers. So the query is raised, I think, by Geet. Yes. Geet is asking that where RBI is paying interest, because you all know that banks have to statutorily keep some deposits with RBI in different manners. So let us say where RBI is paying interest on those deposits, which the banks has to compulsorily keep with RBI, whether that is eligible for exemption. Geet, I hope this is your question, what you have put in the chat box. This is what you mean by your point. Yes, Geet?
No, sir. I was asking about the exchange of foreign currency between the dealer and the RBI.
Correct. So if there is an
Is that
exchange
exempt?
between the dealer and RBI, and you are saying
Yes.
RBI is levying some, charging some
Yes.
charges, whether that will come in point B, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I request answer from the group.
Sir,
Whether,
yeah, if any charges is charged for service charges like any other fee or like that, the brokerage that will be chargeable to GST.
means that will not fall in this exemption.
Yes, sir.
Why?
but
He's asking particularly when RBI is charging this charge or fee to the authorized money dealer when they are getting the foreign currency from RBI, because that is their main source.
see, that is in foreign exchange between the bank and RBI, it is exempted. For the doing that transaction, if any charges they are levying, such as example brokerage charges or any service charges they are levying and collecting, for that service charges alone, it is taxable.
No, no, beta, but then what is exempt? Because
एक
when
मिनट
you are exchanging foreign currency, let us say I am giving dollars and I am getting rupees, or I am giving yuan and I am getting, let us say, ruble, whatever. So when I am exchanging this exchange, let us say I have done this exchange worth of 100 crore rupees. There is no GST on this 100 crore rupees because this is transaction in money.
yes
Correct?
Correct.
sir agree
Always on
correct
the
sir
service fee of this. So let us say you want to convert foreign currency worth 100 crore. I will say 1% is the service fee or the service charge for doing this conversion. That 1% is the service, and that is where GST is applicable. Now, the question is where this is done by an authorized money changer or a bank with RBI, because RBI is the main resource for all the foreign currency. So, where they require some huge foreign currency, they go to RBI, and let us say RBI is charging them this 0.5% for the service fee, whether that is exempt.
Okay, sir. Is services by way of inter sales purchase of foreign currencies amongst the bank. Any services they provided, the collecting by way of, see, I felt that is a exchange between them. It is fully exempted. By of,
See, exchange, if you're talking about the value of foreign currency, which is exchange, anyways, there is no GST on that value because it is money. Na? From both sides, it is money. And
money.
money is outside goods and outside service, so there can be no GST on money. So if 1,000 crore value of foreign currency is exchanged, there is no GST on that 1,000 crore. It cannot be because both sides money is taken, money is given. The GST will be on the service fee which is levied on this 1,000 crore. Are you getting the point?
Yes, sir. In this case, as per entry 27 is exempted from GST, sir.
So why he has this? Because the basic point is where RBI is involved. So whether, in short, whether RBI will fit in this exemption entry.
Yes, sir. Definitely, it's always bank amongst bank. Even yeah, it is exempted, sir.
Correct. So that is what is my answer also. So even RBI is a bank. In fact, it is bank of banks. So where exchange is done by RBI along with the bank or with any money authorized money changer, and if any service fee is charged, that will be eligible for this exemption. Correct?
Yes, sir. RB Act 1932 also is there. It is an independent bank.
Correct.
Central.
So now Geet is saying, but page 483 is excluding. So let us read page 483. Let's read. Firstly, all these clarifications are given for all these different charges on all different instruments. We are saying 483. Hmm.
Yes, sir. On the next page. And the last point, services provided by this commercial bank to RBI would be taxable as they are not covered by any of the exemption exclusion under the GST law.
But which service they are talking about?
Yeah, that's what I am also in the point number B. If the above point, services are provided by the bank or authorized dealer of foreign exchange by of sale of foreign exchange.
Because Geet, your question was where RBI is providing this service. Here, this is other way around. Here, service is provided by banks to RBI. So, firstly, whether what question you asked, whether it is addressing this point, I believe no, because you said that somebody is going to RBI, let us say these banks or the authorized money changer, and getting the foreign currency from RBI, which is the main authorized body to hold these foreign currency reserves. Now, if RBI gives 1,000 crore to some bank or authorized money changer against rupees, and for this RBI is charging, let us say 0.5% as their charges or fees, whether that will be exempt. I still believe it remains exempt because in this point, service is given by the banks to RBI. But what we are discussing is RBI to banks or RBI to authorized money changer. Correct, na? So I think here in this line, some other point is covered and not this point of foreign exchange, or at least the query that you asked. I don't believe that is covered here because in that case, service is given by RBI to the other banks or authorized money changer. Correct, na, Geet?
Yes, sir. So, which means that like services given by RBI to banks are exempt, but services given by banks to RBI are not exempt.
No, beta. Don't generalize things. See, we were firstly talking about foreign currency exchange services, right? Now, obviously, the foreign currency exchange service cannot be given by banks to RBI. It has to be by RBI to banks only. Correct, na?
Yes, sir.
Because RBI is the reserve holder. So only RBI can give the service because logically, firstly, it is only RBI who will give this foreign currency to all these people. Ki, okay, you can take this and exchange it with people, whoever wants. Now, it will not be other way around that banks will give this service to RBI. So firstly, let us not mix, let us not generalize. So we are talking about the foreign currency exchange services. It is between anyone, bank to RBI, RBI to bank. Both will remain exempt. Correct? Now, coming to this sentence, I believe, is independent sentence. It is not talking about the foreign exchange services. It is only saying services. So services, I believe it is any services. This is what this line means to cover. Because see, please understand, this is not given in the act. It is some explanation given in our this module. So I don't know what this particular point they want to address when they wrote this line, because there is no such thing given in the notification. Notification is ending with those two entries. All this what we are reading is the explanatory part given in our module. So I believe this is a generic point. It is not addressing the specific foreign exchange service point. Correct?
Sir,
Like
sir,
how
based on
here, one second, Swaminath. Like how here they specifically said it is important to note that such services provided to service. Now, when they are saying such service, it is the foreign exchange service. That is what is clarified in this, that when it is given to public, it is taxable because only inter-se banks, etc. is exempt. But when it is coming here, I think this becomes a generic point that any service provided by commercial bank to RBI will not be exempt because it is not covered in any of the points. So where this point is covered, they are talking about the generic service. This is my understanding. Yes, Swaminathan.
Yes, sir. Here the thing is that I read fully on the point number B. The thing is that the foreign exchange service provided among the between the banks, that is exempted. Among
Correct.
the dealer to foreign exchange dealer, that also
Correct.
exempted. Among the bank and the dealer, that also exempted. But
Correct.
however, they are mentioning commercial bank to RBI. If such services, which means the foreign exchange service provided by the commercial bank to RBI, only they're given the restriction like that. This is
But
what
that's
I
why
am.
I'm saying, Swaminathan, there is no such restriction in the act. If you read the original notification, there is no such thing. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So the point is what I'm trying to make out. See, they are not saying such services here. They are only saying services. I believe this is a generic point. Are you getting my point? Let us not get confused, and rather let us not give importance to this line. Firstly, it is not given in the notification. It is an explanation given here in our module, and here I believe they are proceeding step by step, and they are here saying services means they are talking about any services. They are not talking about the foreign exchange services in particular. Correct?
Right, right, sir.
Sure. Then these are some specific life insurance products where these life insurance are given by the insurance company that will be exempt. In short, there will be no GST on these specific life insurance schemes or life insurance products. Then again, this category 11 covers the services by specific bodies. These are generally bodies created for benefit of someone, like employee state insurance, employees provident fund. These are bodies created for benefit of employees, whereby these bodies, in first case, they provide insurance benefits if some employee is hospitalized. In second case, they are running the provident fund for the employees. Similarly, you have the coal mines provident fund organization, the national pension trust. So these are some specific bodies whose services are exempt. So when these bodies are operating, they are operating for the benefit of general public or a particular section of the society. So if there is any service charged by these bodies, that should be exempt, which is logical. Hence, these exemptions are provided. Then comes similar to like above, we saw the list of life insurance. Now, these are non-life insurance services. Again, some specified non-life insurance services have been made specifically exempt. Now, we all are waiting forward for this 3rd and 4th September council meeting. I expect that some big announcements, not expect, I'm sure there are big announcements coming the way. Anyways, it is announced by our Honorable Prime Minister also. And in that, this insurance point will also get covered, because this is long pending request by many political leaders and even public at large, that the general insurances provided to public should also get relief from GST. Today it is 18% GST, which is very high, right? Then comes 36A, service by way of reinsurance of insurance schemes. Now we have above entries where the insurance given by the insurance company to the policy holder is exempt. Now what this particular point 36A says, if that insurance is reinsured by that insurance company with a bigger insurance company, the reinsurance will also be exempt. So insurance given by company to the policyholder is exempt in above entries, and if that insurance company gets it reinsured from a bigger insurance company, that will also be exempt. Fine. Then comes these types of pension schemes, again run by various insurance companies. Again, these specific pension schemes will also be exempt. Then this business facilitator or correspondent services. Now, what are these business facilitators? So the business facilitators are, like you can say, business developers or agents, where the insurance companies or the banks, they want to go and establish themselves in smaller places, in remote places. They need some local person, an influential person, who will convince people over there to get associated with the bank or get associated with the insurance company. That person is called as the business facilitator. So when this business facilitator is providing the services to a bank, or when this is providing services to an insurance company, and majorly in the rural areas, because that is where they require this business facilitator, their services would be exempt. Now, in the previous class, we saw services by government to people, which was exempt. Now here, services is by some businessman or some agency to government, which is eligible for exemption. Please read, beta.
Yes, sir. Entry number 3, pure services provided to government. Pure services excluding work contract service or other composite supplies involve supply of any goods. Point number 2, provided to the central government, state government or union territory or local authority by way of an activity in relation to any function entrusted to a panchayat under Article 243G of the Constitution, or in relation to any function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution. See, all point is 2 point only. My mistake, I put 2.
That is okay. Now, similar is point 3 also. But what is interesting is, if you recall the entry which we studied last time in the government category, same point was there, if you can recall. Now, interestingly, what is this point? I'll give you an example. So every day we have this vehicle coming to our doorsteps for collecting the garbage. Correct? I'm sure this is there with everybody's place wherever you all stay. This is a facility whereby the government collects this garbage from your house, from your hotel, from your shop, wherever, and it is then put at the dumping yard. Now, this is chargeable service. You get the charge in the form of that property taxes receipt. There is a charge for this. Now, interestingly, firstly, the service is by the body, the local body to the public. That service is also exempt. It was covered in the previous category where we studied services by government. Now, here, what is covered is now when this service has to be provided by that government body to public, what the government body does, they do not operate their own fleet of vehicles. They do not manage the own fleet of vehicles and the drivers and the cleaners. Rather, what they do is they simply subcontract this work to some outside contractor. So they float tenders, they invite tenders, and on the basis of best tender, they allot this work. So let us say a local body of Mumbai Municipal Corporation is providing this particular garbage collection service. So, firstly, they charge it to the people, that is to us. And secondly, after this, the second part is that they will be getting this service done from some outside agency. It means that outside agency is providing firstly the service to that government body which is covered in this exemption, and secondly the government body is providing to us which was covered in the previous exemption which we studied at the last time. So please be clear, because both readings are same. Here, what is the service which is exempt? Pure service which does not cover works contract, which is provided by some outside agency, some business agency to the government. And what is this service? The service is relating to any activity which is covered in this. And this sewerage collection or garbage collection is one of the activities covered here. Now, what is 3A? 3A is very much similar. The only difference is over there above there was pure service. Here it is a composite supply of goods service. The only thing is that where the goods component is not more than 25% of total value. Now, this point was added later on. Why this was added later on? Because the benefit of this was not fully realized. Why it was not fully realized? It said that it will cover pure service. Pure service means there should be no goods involved. But practically it was found that many times when these external agencies are providing services to government, it includes very nominal value of goods to provide that service. So the goods are used by them, but that is to provide that service. And because of this specific condition of pure service, it was not getting covered in clause 3. So unnecessarily, they were burdening the government, because obviously if GST is applicable, they will add it in their bill and the government has to shell out that GST to them. To remove that anomaly, they came up with this particular point saying that where your service component is not pure service, so it is a composite service where supply of goods are also involved. But since we want to give it for service only, so they have restricted the value of goods. What is the restriction? The value or the component of goods should not be more than 25%. So where it is not more than 25%, you still continue to enjoy this exemption. That is why entry 3A has been brought in. I hope you all understood this particular point. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead, beta.
Okay. See, entry
3B.
number 3B. Services provided to a governmental authority by way of water supply, public health, sanitation conservancy, solid waste management, and slum improvement and accreditation.
What is this? Again, services provided to government Same point. Government is actually providing this service to you. But for providing the service to you, the government is taking the service from some outside agency. So in short, now when these things are outsourced by government, the outside agency are raising invoice on government for any of these services. That is what is exempt. Please go ahead.
11A. Services provided by fair price shops to central government, state government, or union territory by way of sale of food grains, kerosene, sugar, edible oil, etc. under public distribution system against consideration in the form of commission or margin.
So, as we all know, we have these ration shops. Now, many times these ration shops, if they are operating as trading or traders, this exemption is not applicable because it becomes supply of goods. But many times these ration shops are only the outlets of government. So the person who is running the shop is getting a commission from the government. So if he is getting a commission from the government, then what he is doing for the government is provision of service. What is the service? Running this fair price shop on behalf of government. So actually these shops are to be run by the government. But what government has done again they have outsourced this work to some agency. They have given the contract where a particular agency who has taken this contract will set up these shops, and on behalf of government it will be doing the distribution of all these essentials at fair price, and the prices are also fixed by government. So these shops are not into trading. They are only like an extended arm of the government. So they are providing a service to the government. So whatever fee, commission, margin, whatever they are given by the government is against their service, and that is what is exempt. Then comes services provided to government under insurance schemes. Then services provided to government under training programs. Now, what is this? Now we have the Skill India movement going on, under which now the government has identified multiple training, you can say, courses which are hosted on the government website. Now, if let us say I run one of these courses, let us say GST is hosted on that. If I am giving training to students under that particular government training program, then I will either be not charging any fees to the students. Why? Because the fees will be coming to me from the government, or I'll be charging a nominal fees. What is the condition? Where 75% or more of the total expenditure is borne by the government. Means out of the total fees, 75% or more is paid by the government. So either I'm charging no fees or I'm charging nominal fees. So again, what is happening? Since I'm charging the fees to the government, so it is my service given to the government of training people. That will be exempt under entry 72. Now see here, they have given example why that 25% was brought in. So for what are those category of services where this 25% will be used? Because in all these cases, there is some element of material that is being consumed in provision of these services. Hence, to cover that, this exemption is given. Now we have the leasing service. Again, this entry 41 is a very important exemption entry. What it covers? It covers the upfront lease premium, which is also called as premium or salami or cost price, etc., where you are given a lease which is for a period of minimum 30 years. Now, this lease is towards what? So it is towards the industrial plots or plots for development of infrastructure for business, etc., etc. Now, what is this? If you go to any industrial area, the industrial area has different plots which are given to businesses for setting up their industry. Now, these plots are given by the government or the government's industrial development bodies. Like in different states, there are different industrial bodies. In Maharashtra and Gujarat, we have MIDC, GIDC. In Rajasthan, I think there is some other authority. I forgot the name, RERA or something. So there are different bodies formed in different
Rico.
RICO, sorry, not RERA, RICO. Correct. So in Noida also you have a different authority. Now these are the authorities made by the government who provide these lands, these plots to various businesses on lease. And obviously, the lease, if you see in case of government, is a 99-year lease. Now, when these plots are provided on 99 years lease, there is a hefty lease premium, which is as good as the value of the land because 99 years is your four generations are covered in that. So they virtually charge you under the name, under the guise of lease premium. They are charging the total value of the plot. But that lease premium is exempt if the lease is given by whom? By the state government, industrial development corporation, or these bodies, or undertakings, or by any entity having 20% or more ownership of the government. So in short, it is indirectly government entity, government body only, which is giving these plots. Now, interestingly, even if the upfront lease premium is paid in installments, let us say you are given 5 years, 6 years, 10 years duration, still the exemption continues because it is upfront amount only, but given in installment. Further, if there is any location or preferential location charges which are collected in addition to the lease premium, again, this will be eligible for exemption. Why? Because it becomes part of composite supply. So let us say within the different plots, there are some premium plots. Why? Because they are strategically located. Maybe someone is located near the highway, or maybe someone is located at a place where they can get easy access to many banking or other facilities. Hence, those plots are having some extra charge for their premium or preferential location. This premium location charge or extra location charge is also covered under this same exemption entry because they are charging the premium, and along with premium they are charging this preferential location charge. Both becomes composite supply where the major supply is the premium, hence it will be exempt. And then these are the conditions given. Subject to this, it will have exemption. Fine. Now we'll take a 10 minutes break. After the break, we'll consider with the or go on with the other services. I hope it is clear to all. So let us take a 10 minutes break.
Sure, sir.
The next category is the services of lawyers, as we normally call them. So entry 45 covers the legal services. Now in this, they are covering services first by arbitral tribunal, and then second, we have the services of the law firms. Now what is important to note is, again, try to recall the exemption, the RCM topic. If you remember, I had explained over there that both arbitral tribunal or the lawyer service, both are either exempt, and where they are not exempt, that is, they are now not fitting in this entry, they will be taxable under RC. Now, what is the general rule of exemption? The general rule is the services given by this arbitral tribunal or by the lawyers to non-business entities is fully exempt. So as you can see, arbitral tribunal to person other than business entity, partnership firm of advocates, individual as an advocates other than senior, by way of advocacy services to any person other than business entity, and similarly senior advocate by way of legal service to person other than business entity. So where the services are given to non-business entity, that is where I, as Vishal Poddar, go and avail these services, but not in my capacity as a chartered accountant, but in my capacity as Vishal Poddar. Now, what is this difference? The difference is where I am availing some service for any of my personal disputes, let us say family dispute, property dispute, but it is not relating to my profession or business, then I stand in the capacity as an individual and not as a business entity. That is where the services given by these tribunals or the law firms will be exempt in my hands. First thing. Now, the second thing is that where they are giving the service to businessmen, that is business entities. So same, I am taking services now as Vishal Poddar chartered accountant or Vishal Poddar's chartered accountancy or law firm. In such a case, the exemption will still apply if my business is a small business. So what is the condition? Where the services are given to a business with an aggregate turnover up to such amount in the last year as makes them eligible for exemption from registration. It means if my last year's turnover is below 20 lakhs, then this year, if I'm availing any services, any of these services, even though I'm availing it as a business entity, it will still be exempt. Correct? And third, where these services are availed by government, central, state, local, or governmental body like authority or entity, it is still exempt. Now, within lawyers, there are two categories: senior, other than senior. Now, when you are other than senior, your services are exempt when you are giving it to another advocate firm or to non-business or to small business entity or to government. But when you are a senior advocate, your services given to other advocates is taxable. So in this whole exemption, this is the one most interesting point, that why they have bifurcated between senior and non-senior advocates, that where the services are given by a senior advocate, then if the senior advocate is giving service to other advocates, that is what is taxable. And if you remember my RCM discussion, that is the only service which is taxable under forward charge. So we have this generic assumption that all services of lawyers, wherever taxable, are only under RCM, but this has an exception. Only one service of lawyers is under forward charge, that is by lawyer to lawyer. So anyways, whether you make it reverse or forward, on one of the side you have lawyers only. So where the supplier is a senior advocate and it is giving service to other advocate or advocate firms, in that particular case, firstly, it is not exempt, and secondly, it is taxable under forward charge. Now, what type of service of advocates are covered? So for that, we go to the definition. So Swaminathan, can you please read for me, beta?
Yes, sir. Legal service means any service provided in relation to advice, consultancy, or assistance in any branch of law in any manner and includes representational services before any court, tribunal, or authority.
Continue.
Advocate. Advocate means an advocate entered in any role under the provision of the Advocate Act 1961. Or arbitral tribunal means a sole arbitrator or panel of arbitrator.
Fine. Now, what is interesting to note is the definition of legal service, which means services provided in relation to advice, consultancy, assistance in any branch of law. Now, we as chartered accountants are also providing services in one of the branches of law, which may be taxation like GST, like customs law, like FEMA laws, like income tax law, like Companies Act, nowadays PMLA Act. Now, there are so many of these laws where we are doing the same thing. What? Advice, consultancy, even representational services. Maybe we are not representing court, but definitely we are representing before tribunal and other authorities like the departments. But our services, even though legal, let me tell you, what we are doing is now legal service, but it is not eligible for exemption. Why? If you read these entries, they are saying specifically which legal services are exempt, which are given by advocates, firm of advocates, or by senior advocate. And who is an advocate? Means an advocate entered in any role under the provisions of the Advocate Act. Like how after becoming a chartered accountant, we have to take certificate of practice. Now, interestingly, there another case scenario. I'm a chartered accountant and also completed law. Then in such a case, whether still my services will be exempt, answer is no. If I am holding the COP as a chartered accountant and law is only as a qualification, this exemption does not apply. But if I change, I now take up COP as a lawyer or as an advocate, that is, I am entered in the role, then obviously I will have to surrender the COP as a search of chartered accountancy, and then I will only be a qualified chartered accountant, but I will be a practicing advocate. In that case, my service will become exempt. So this is important to note that you should be acting in the capacity as an advocate. An advocate means who is holding the certificate of practice of advocacy. Yes.
Sir, actually, in Code of Conduct and Ethics, it is clarified that one point the chartered accountant can also act as a advocate as well. But whenever he doing the services as an advocate, he should not reference to the auditor. At the same time, when he is doing the COP, he should not refer to the advocate. The both are allowed as per the Code of Ethics. I have read, sir. Actually, it is
No,
there.
understand one thing, beta. What is allowed, what is not allowed, you are allowed. In fact, now this restriction is there in the advocacy profession also, in CA profession also, CMA profession also, CS profession also, that you may have multiple qualifications. You can always write in your visiting card or all your profiles that you are a chartered accountant, you are a cost accountant, you are a lawyer. But the profession in which you want to profess, you can have only one certificate of practice at a time. So you can only serve as a CA at a time, or as a lawyer at a time, that is advocate, or as a company secretary. Means, see, one is having a qualification, that is after passing the exams, and the other is holding COP. That COP is allowed only of one profession at a time.
Yes, sir, true, sir. But for this advocate alone, they given the exemption like this in the Code of Ethics.
No, beta, you can please go and check, because had this been the case, then see, again, I'm saying I'm a chartered accountant. I complete my law and I enroll myself as an advocate. Correct? There is one small exam. If I give that, I can enroll myself as an advocate. Now you are saying that once I'm an advocate, I can also practice as a CA. This is what you are saying?
Sir, simultaneously it is not possible, but whenever you are acting as an advocate, you have to, with reference to stick on the advocate alone. But whenever you are acting as a COP, you have to refer to COP alone. But you can hold both advocate as well as a CA. Only
That's
these.
why I'm saying hold both means what? Holding what?
Holding advocate as well as say in the letterhead, either you can put a CA or advocate. That is sure, but designation is not allowed. Only one designation is allowed. That is sure. But whenever you are doing the services, it is allowed. But whenever you are doing that advocate function, it is you can do the advocate function. When you are wanted to do that the COP, you can do the COP, but you need not surrender the COP certificate. It is specifically mentioned here. This exemption is given in the code of conduct. The EC3 manual is there. In one of the manual, it is very specifically mentioned this.
Fine, no problem. I'll request that you take a screenshot of that whenever you get time, and please display it in the next class, because I have a different view on this. But for the timing, since it is not a major point affecting present topic, we'll keep this aside, but definitely I would like to read that. Fine?
Right, sir.
Okay. Go ahead with this definition, Bida.
Yeah, fine, sir. Senior advocates. An advocate may, with his consent, be designated as senior advocate if the Supreme Court or High Court is of opinion that by virtue of his ability, standing at the bar, or special knowledge or experience in law, he is deserving of such distinction. Senior advocates shall, in the matter of their practice, to be subject to such restriction as the Bar Council of the India may, in the interest of the legal profession, prescribe.
So, what is this? So, senior advocate is a designation which is given to you by the court. So, the Honorable Supreme Court, High Court are empowered to designate you as a senior advocate. And this will be done considering your experience, your past standing in the courts. So, you cannot yourself, like in case of other professionals, like even in chartered accountancy, after you complete 5 years of practice, you can apply and you will be designated, or not designated here. Here simply you apply and you will be fellow. So up to 5 years you are associate. Thereafter you can apply and become fellow. But for that there is no designation required. Designation means there is no appointing authority. Whereas in case of advocacy profession, the High Court and Supreme Court exclusively have this power that even though you want, you cannot be a senior advocate. It is not like a qualification or a recognition. It is a designation which is given only by the court. Fine. Now, the next is the sponsorship services. So wherever events are being sponsored, that sponsorship is taxable under GST. Now again, there is an amendment in the RCM. Earlier, all sponsorships were under RCM. Now they have made small change. However, few sponsorships are exempt where the sponsorships are relating to one of these sporting events organized by any of these bodies. So when any of these bodies are organizing a sporting event, only that sporting event sponsorship will be exempt. There is no change in this list, so this remains constant. Then comes the skill development services. So as we all know, now the government has one of its mission as the skill development. So under that mission, it has set up all these various bodies or organizations which would be working towards the skill development. Now in this particular case, the charges of these bodies or any fees collected by these bodies is what is made exempt. This is similar to the Provident Fund or ESIC bodies. Same logic applies over here. So any of these bodies who are made by the government for the purpose of enhancement of skill or provision of skill training in India, the fees, the charges, the services of these bodies, since they are not for the purpose of any business, they are only for the purpose exclusively of benefiting the public at large, their service fees are exempt. Similarly, the service fees of assessing bodies. Now, who are these assessing bodies? Now, when the skill training is done, some testing is required, some assessment is required. So the government has made another body who would be only doing the testing or conducting the exams and then giving them the certificates. So the services of these bodies, because see, all these bodies charge some fees. So whenever you want to empanel yourself, Like let us say I want to empanel myself as a training partner, I will have to pay some fees to these bodies. So when these bodies are charging me some fees, or here the assessing bodies are charging to the students the fees for conducting the exams, all these will be exempt. Then services provided by training providers under these Deen Dayal, etc., will be exempt. So let us say I am one of the training providers or the training partners, and I empanel myself under this Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana. So by the name you can understand this is only for development, not development, training in the rural segment. So where I am providing any type of training, skill training, or any type of education training, then the charges or the services are exempt. Now, this is an important point. Please read.
Yes, sir. Performance by an artist. Entry number 78. Services by an artist by a performance of folk or classical arts form of music, dance, theatre. In consideration, if the consideration charged for such performance is not more than 1,50,000 rupees or exempt from GST. The activities by the performance artist in folk or classical art form of music, dance, or theatre are exempt if consideration does not exceed rupees 1,50,000. However, if the consideration from such activities exceed 1,50,000, entire consideration is subject to GST. Further, all other activities by an artist in other art form, example, Western music or dance, modern theatre, performance of actors in film or television series would be taxable. Similarly, activities of artists in still art forms, example, painting, sculpture making, etc., are taxable. However, the exemption shall not apply to service provided by such artist as a brand ambassador. Brand ambassador means a person engaged for promotion or making of a brand of goods, service, property, or actionable claim, event, or endorsement of name, including a trade name, logo, or housemark of the any person.
Now, what is important? I'll give you an example. Let us say a Kathak event is being planned and Hema Malini ji is invited to perform in that Kathak event. Now, where she charges a consideration, an honorarium for this particular event, that honorarium will be covered in this entry. Now, what it is saying? Service by an artist. So she is an artist, yes. And what is the service? It is the performance in either a folk or a classical art forms. So I hope you all know the difference. So folk is where it is related to any particular area or any particular small section of some region. So there are some art forms, or like we always call them as folk dance. So these are some either music forms or dance forms limited to a particular tribal area or a group or people residing in a particular place. That is what is folk. And then you have the classical art forms like this Bharatnatyam and all these, they come under the classical art form. Now, where this deals with either musical performance or a dance performance or a theatrical. Like if you go to South India, there are many theatrical performances. Even in North India, this Ramayana, Ramlila is a theatrical performance. So when any performances are done by the artist in one of these forms, and they should be coming either under folk or either under classical art forms, then the remuneration charged by these artists, if the amount is up to 50,000, will be exempt. So all these artists who are performing in any of these events, and that event is either relating to folk or classical art forms, and it may be the music or the dance or the theatrical performance, the remuneration paid to the artist is exempt. Now, first clarification, if the amount exceeds 150, let us say Hema Malini ji has charged 2 lakhs. In that case, you will not deduct that 150. In that case, entire 2 lakhs will be taxable. Next clarification, if it is other than art forms and other than these classical art forms like Western music, so you have different performances in Western music, like Coldplay performance, that is in Western music, so that will be taxable. Similarly, if it is still art forms, what are still art forms? Still means where there is painting, sculpture making, etc. That will be taxable. So you may be making some old god goddess painting, or you are making some sculpture that may be dealing with some of our traditional this, but that is not exempt. Only exemption is for music, dance, theatrical, which are motion art forms. So against that, it is still. And next is where you are doing one of these performances. Malini ji is performing Kathak, but she's performing in a Patanjali event and she is a brand ambassador of Patanjali. I don't know whether presently she's or not, but earlier she was. Now, where she is performing the same art form, but she is performing as a brand ambassador because she has been invited over there in a Patanjali event or the event where Patanjali is one of the sponsor and she is performing there as a brand ambassador of Patanjali. Then, irrespective of the honorarium, let us say she is charging 1 lakh only for that performance, that will also be taxable. So these are the different small points in this entry that you need to keep in mind. Then comes the entry fees. So wherever you go to any of these places like museums, national parks, wildlife sanctuary, reserve, tiger reserves, etc., there is some entry fees. These entry fees will be exempt. Second, where you are going to some protected monuments, like you go to Taj Mahal or any of these, which come under protected monuments, like in Orissa, you go to that Konark temple. This is again a protected monument. So you have multiple protected monuments across India, and there is some entry fees. Similarly, where you are going for enjoyment and you are paying the entry fees for one of these type of events. Now here there is a criteria that it is exempt only where the fees amount is not exceeding 500. So you are going for circus or any dance show or any theatrical performance or any award function or any recognized sporting event, all these will be having some fees, entry fees. Now, if these entry fees is up to 500, no GST. If it is above 500, there is GST. Now, what is recognized sporting event? Again, sporting event organized by one of these bodies. If you remember, the same list is there even in sponsorship. Now, again, this is a very important entry, very common entry. What is this entry dealing with? Now, we stay in a housing society building, which is called as a housing society. Now, this society may be an unincorporated body or it may be an incorporated body, but it is a NPO and it is registered under any law for the time in force. Now, what is the service? The service is provided to its own members. What is the service? The service is the common maintenance. Now, here firstly, three people are covered. One, a trade union or provision of carrying out any activity which is exempt from levy of GST. So, any exempted activities carried out. So, I'm not interested in this. I'm interested in clause C. So, who are you? You are an unincorporated body. You are an NPO. I have taken example of our own housing complex, the society, the housing society, which is managing the day-to-day maintenance, the security, the electricity for lifts, the cleanliness of your all common areas. Now that is what is covered in entry 77. Now what you have to do is every month you have to pay some contribution to your society against sourcing of goods or services from third person. So your society is sourcing these goods or service from third person so that it can be given to you as a common use. So commonly you are using these amenities, facilities in your society and against that you are paying some monthly maintenance. Now it may be charged to you monthly, quarterly, annually, that is different thing. The limit is given monthly. If your monthly maintenance amount per flat, I will say, because here the word is per member, but it is not family member, it is per flat, because in a society, one flat is one member. Member means member of the society, not member of the family. So 7,500 is per month per flat. If your maintenance is up to this amount, it is an exempt. If it is exceeding this amount, now here there is some dispute going on. If your amount is exceeding 7,500, now there are two line of thoughts. One which is clarified by the government, but we all are challenging that clarification also, that where it is exceeding 7,500, let us say your maintenance charges are 10,000. The CBIC has clarified saying in that case entire 10,000 is taxable. We are challenging it saying that out of 10,000, 7,500 still remain exempt. Only 2,500 should be taxable. But this is still a dispute. It is yet to be finalized. So whenever it is finalized, we'll get to know the final result. For the purpose of exams, you will follow both the viewpoints, but majorly the one which has been clarified by CBIC. Next, similar to your housing association or bodies, we have other unincorporated bodies or not-for-profit entities. Again, what are they engaged in? They are engaged in activities relating to welfare of industrial or agricultural or labor or farmers, or they are engaged in promotion of trade, commerce, industry, agriculture, science, etc. And again, what is their service? Their service is given to their own members against a consideration in the form of membership. So this is what we are nowadays part of many trade associations, trade bodies, even our ICAI, where we are part of these bodies and they charge you some annual membership fee. Now, if this membership fee is not exceeding 1,000 per member per year, then that membership fee is exempt. Where it is exceeding 1,000, the amount shall be taxable. Okay, so this is all about your housing society. Now, this is an important clarification because many times your housing society is collecting from the members for all these charges. Now, the question is whether the amount collected towards these charges will also be covered in 7,500 limit, or it has to be considered separately, whether it will be exempt or taxable. That has been clarified. Please read, Beda.
Yes, sir. Taxability of various charges collected by societies. A society may collect the following charges from the members on quarterly basis as follows. Property tax, actual as per the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Water tax, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Non-agricultural tax, Maharashtra State Government. Electricity charges, sinking fund mandatory under the bylaws of the cooperative societies. Repairs and maintenance fund, car parking charges, non-occupancy charges, simple interest for late payment. CBIC has clarified the taxability of above charges as follows. Services provided by the central government, state government, union territory or local authority to a person other than the business entity is exempted from GST.
नहीं मेरे को रिटर्न भरना है यहाँ सैटरडे संडे में परीक्षा.
Sorry, sir, I got call. I disconnected that. Exempted from GST. So, property tax, water tax, if collected by the RWA cooperative society on behalf of the MCGM from individual flat owners, then GST is not leviable.
So what is the clarification? So the clarification is where services are provided by government, local authority to a person other than business entity, it is exempt from GST. This is because of the earlier entry where government is providing services to us. So property tax, water tax, if collected by these RWA means our resident welfare association or corporate society on behalf of MCGM from individual flat owners, this is not leviable to GST. Why? Because in principle, these charges are outside GST. Yes, go ahead.
Similarly, GST is not leviable on non-agricultural tax, electricity charges, etc., which are collected under other statutes from individual flat owners. However, if these charges are collected by the society for generation of electricity by society generator or to private drinking water facility or any other service, then such charges collected by the society are liable to GST.
Now, this is a very important clarification. So, where GST is otherwise also not applicable, like you all know that electricity charges GST is not applicable. Now, if these electricity is sourced from outside, where some electricity generating companies providing this electricity, in such cases, GST is not leviable, which are collected under other statutes from individual flat owners. However, if these charges are collected by your society for the electricity generated by the society generator or to provide drinking water facility or any other service, then they may get taxable. In simple words, where these charges are otherwise exempt means there is already a specific entry exempting it, then it will be exempt even if the society is collecting from you. If it is not exempt otherwise and the society is collecting from you, then it will be taxable. Third, where the exemption is specific, that only when any of these government bodies is charging to you, then it will be exempt. But that particular goods or that particular services are now generated by the society themselves from their resources and providing to you. In such cases, you'll have to test the eligibility of exemption, because there is a possibility that the exemption is only if, let us say, some electricity board is providing the electricity, then exempt. In such cases, if private person is providing, it may not be exempt. So these things have to be tested. Third point.
Sinking fund, repairs and maintenance fund, car parking charges, non-occupancy charges, or simple interest for late payment attract GST. As these charges are collected by the RWA cooperative society for supply of services meant for its members.
Now see, these charges are actually the charges which the society has to collect as a part of their service of providing common maintenance. So these charges will be covered in that 7,500 limit, and if it is within 7,500, because of this entry, it will be exempt. If it is exceeding 7,500, then it will become taxable. So it is not having any generic exemption. Whatever exemption it has, it is up to that 7,500 limit. Now coming to some other services. Now this is again a very important service.
I have a question on this
Please.
RWA point. So what if RWA is not formed and the services are provided by the builder himself through some other entity?
Very good point. So for this, you should again go back to the language verbatim. Now, if you see the language, what does the language says? Services by an unincorporated body or a not-for-profit entity registered under any law for the time being in force. Please understand this. RWA is falling under this because either it is an unincorporated body, like in many small buildings, they do not register themselves under any society laws, but still it is an unincorporated body, or where it is registered under any law like the Societies Act or the Housing Societies Act. In such cases, only the exemption applies. Now, your question is, what if builder is doing? Now, here there are two possibilities. One, the builder is doing by himself, like it happens in case of the initial years when just the society, the builder has just sold off the flats. Some flats are still with the builder. So in the initial 2-3 years, till the society becomes fully functional, the builder does it at his end. First possibility. Second, the builder has created a separate entity, which maybe the builder is managing. Now, in both these, the answers are different. First, where in the initial years, the builder himself is doing this maintenance, I believe it is not covered in 77 entry, because for getting covered in 77 entry, there has to be a separate entity, maybe registered, maybe unregistered. But if the builder is doing by himself, builder is collecting in his name and doing the maintenance, it will be taxable fully. I don't think 7,500 limit will apply. Second, where builder has created an entity, maybe that entity is managed by builder, but if the builder has created a separate entity like this unincorporated body or an incorporated body, but the builder has created a separate entity, means the bank account is different, the entity is different, maybe there is a separate PAN of that entity. In that case, charges which are collected by the entity, though managed by the builder, I believe that will enjoy the 7,500 exemption.
But if that is the that entity is a company, then it will be taxable.
No, no.
If that
Why?
other, okay, no, I'm asking.
No. Why? Because you have Section 8 companies also, na? See,
Because
there are two parts. One is either it should be unincorporated, and
or a
where it
non-profit
is
entity.
incorporated, it should be incorporated as a not-for-profit entity.
Right.
And it can be under any law. Na? So even Section 8 companies are there, which are not-for-profit entities registered under Companies Act. So in many places, see, many times this cooperative society laws, people are not comfortable. So at such times, they create, especially for this in bigger cities, for managing the maintenance, they create a separate entity, which is a company many times. Because over there, it is much better than the cooperative society format. Correct?
Correct.
So even companies are covered.
Section 8 companies.
The only thing is it should be, yeah, Section 8 company, because where you are incorporating under any law, it should be a not-for-profit entity. That is what is the condition. Right?
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, coming to this entry, which is again an important entry. Now, we have many mergers, demergers, which are very common, business takeovers, acquisitions. Now, in all these formats, even in income tax, if you observe the chapter of capital gains, you'll find that the government has tried to make these business reorganizations tax neutral. Similar thing has been attempted in service tax and continued in GST. But firstly, there is one difference between income tax and GST. In income tax, we call them as uh, conversion of proprietor into company, we call them as partnership converted into company, etc. In GST, we are not bothered about in what format it is happening, or let us say it is amalgamation, demerger of a company itself. We are not bothered in what format this reorganization is happening. We are bothered with the nature of transaction. So in income tax, the concern is the format in which it is happening, like proprietor to company, firm to company, amalgamation or demerger of companies, because over there you will find specific names given to these formats which are eligible for exemption. Under GST law, they have not given name of any format. So in what manner you are doing this, we are least bothered. The only requirement is the nature of transaction should be this. Now, firstly, you have to go to Schedule 2 because if I am transferring my business, there are two possibilities. One is I may transfer the business, which is a running business, as a whole. In such a case, it becomes a transfer or supply of service as per Schedule 2. So let us first, before landing to this exemption point, let us first do classification. So if I am transferring the business as a whole, a running business, in that particular case, it will be a supply of service first, and only then this exemption applies. But if I'm not transferring it as a running business, let us say I do not want to continue the business. Let us say I was running a hotel. I do not want to continue running the hotel. And now I'm selling the hotel building to someone. I'm selling some other assets to someone. Or maybe I'm selling all the assets to one person. But that person will not continue my hotel. That person may start a new hotel in his own name, or he may start a different business. In such a case, this entry will not apply. This entry applies where what I am doing is continued by the other person. That is what is transfer of going concern. So before we answer or we conclude the exemption part, we have to first check what is the nature of transaction. So a very big difference between income tax and GSTs. In income tax, you'll find that they have identified specific formats by which you are transferring your assets that would be eligible for exemption under capital gain under not transfer list. But under GST, they are not bothered by the format. Here, nowhere they have given amalgamation, demerger. That is by default implied in this. What they want is that there should be a wholesome transfer of the business, and it should be as a business, not as assets. It should be a running business, and most important condition is all assets along with the liabilities. Means as it is, what is happening till date, I was the owner, from tomorrow you are the owner. This is the simple thing. This is what is covered over here in exemption. Firstly, remember, we are studying exemption only for services. So firstly, it has to be supply of service. And when it will be supply of service, when you are transferring the business as a whole as one unit. If you're transferring it piecemeal, it will become supply of independent goods. That is, all assets would become separate goods. No exemption under this entry would apply. So for being covered under this exemption entry, it should be transferred as a business so that firstly it becomes supply of service. Now, second thing is, it is not necessary that you transfer the whole business. It may be one independent unit of your business. So let us say till now, manufacturing and even servicing, both I was doing. Like let us say mobile phone companies. So let us say the Samsung company is also manufacturing the phones, and the Samsung is also providing the after sales service. Now, over a period, Samsung feels that after sales service we are not able to manage. So they decide to transfer only the after sales service segment to someone. Still, it will be classified over here. So it is not necessary that Samsung should do the entire transfer of all the business verticals that they are doing. They may do it one vertical or one independent unit wise. That will still be eligible for this exemption entry. Then there are some other smaller entries. Let us go through them. Swaminathan, please read from 9B.
Yes, sir. Supply of services associated with the transit cargo to Nepal and Bhutan.
So this is what is your GTA service, where the service is associated with transporting the cargo from Nepal to Bhutan, which are landlocked countries. Please go ahead.
Yeah, in this regard, it is clarified that this entry covers services associated with the transit cargo, both to and from Nepal and Bhutan. The movement of empty container from Nepal to Bhutan after delivery of goods there is a service associated with the transit cargo to Nepal and Bhutan, and is therefore covered by the exemption.
Again, the reading of this basic entry is very important. They are not saying only the transport services exempt. In fact, they have widened the scope, saying services associated with the transit cargo. So it covers everything. And like example given is that let us say after delivering the goods, the empty containers are coming back. So there is some charge for return of empty containers also. That is also exempt. If in the midway some warehousing has to be done for a day or two till the goods get loaded on some other vehicle, even that is covered. So that is where this wholesome point is there. Now, this service is very important. This has undergone multiple amendments. So we are reading the entry as it stands today, and today it is one of the most important exemption entries because of multiple amendments. Please read.
Sir, there is a question.
Please go ahead.
Sir, why these two countries are having exemption?
Okay, so put the other side of your question first. When you are saying why these two, so what you want that why the others are not covered?
Yes.
Who others are not covered?
No, they specify only Nepal and Bhutan.
That's why I'm saying. So who else you want to be covered?
No, sir.
Sir, we have a lot of
General question.
neighboring countries, sir. We have a lot of neighboring countries like Pakistan is there, Sri Lanka is there, other countries, sir. Why particularly Nepal and Bhutan is given the exemption? That is what.
Sir, my question is, you are then not getting, I'm giving you the answer, but my answer is in the form of question. See, firstly, these are the landlocked countries. I hope you all understand what are landlocked. That is where
Yes, sir.
the transportation is through land, correct?
Yes.
That is what is landlocked.
Sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
we have
Yes,
another
sir.
country, very favorite of us, who Pakistan. Do you want to give exemption? No. We have another landlocked country, very favorite to us, China. Do you want to give exemption? No. Simple, na?
Yes.
These are the countries who are maintaining good relation with us, and we want to see how we promote any cross-border relation by giving benefit to trade. Trade is the most biggest weapon today of having a good relation, and in fact today it has become the other way around. It, for even spoiling the relation, the trade has become one of the biggest tools, but there are different reasons, so let us not get into that. Now we have our neighboring countries where they are landlocked countries. Landlocked means there are only land routes available. Obviously, air route is always there, but means it is not having the sea route, and all the transportation majorly is from the land route. So we have many countries around us, but the countries who are maintaining cordial relation will provide benefit only to their trade, not to all other trades. Correct?
Correct, sir. Thank you.
That is the logic.
Okay, sir. It is a government policy.
Yeah, obviously, and it has to be, na, because Bhutan has always, in fact, if I'm not wrong, what I recall, after Modi became prime minister for the first time, the very first country which he visited was Bhutan, if I'm correct. So he did not go to any major country after becoming prime minister for the first time. That is in 2014. His first visit was to Bhutan, and in fact, he visited the smaller countries first. Then he planned his visits with bigger countries. Maintaining good relation with your neighboring countries is important. Correct?
Correct,
Sir.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, entry number 12. Services by of renting of residential dwelling for use as residence, except where the residential dwelling is rented to a registered person.
Now, first,
Explanation.
what we are covering is renting of flat for simplicity, because the flat is a residential unit. Now, when you are giving any commercial unit on rent, there is no exemption over here. So it has to be a residential dwelling like a flat. Now comes the second part. Also, the purpose is for use as a residence. So there is a possibility like we as chartered accountants or even lawyers or even architects are allowed to occupy flats as their office. So if I'm taking a flat on rent for using it as my office, this exemption entry will not apply. So two things which are out. One, where I'm taking a shop or an office on rent, that is anyways out of this exemption because it is not a residential unit. Second, where I'm taking a flat or a bungalow on rent, but for running my office over there, that is for use, not as a residence, then again, we are out of this exemption. So for being in this exemption, the first two requirements is it should be a residential dwelling unit, that is a flat or a bungalow, and second, it should be given on rent for using it as a residence only. Now, this was the very first original entry. The entry ended here, full stop. Nothing was there. Then we added one point in 2022, that is where this same flat given for residence only, but is given to a registered person. We removed that part from this exemption. So that part has now been made taxable. That has been made taxable under reverse charge. So what is covered in this part? So if I, the landowner, the flat owner, is giving this flat to a company because the company wants to uh, give the flat to their general manager or to some CEO, or I am giving this flat to a bank because again the bank wants this flat for their managers or higher officials. In such case, since this bank is a registered person under GST, now when I'm giving this to such registered persons, there is no exemption. It is now taxable. But the good part is, as a flat owner, for me, there is no liability because this is taxed under RCN. So this is the basic entry. Now we go to the explanation, because the moment this point was added, another challenge came. Let us say I am giving flat to Swaminathan. Swaminathan is a chartered accountant having his own chartered accountancy firm, maybe partnership or proprietary, which is registered under GST. Now, where it is given to his proprietary firm, you all know proprietor and proprietary firm are one and the same. And we have multiple judgments. In fact, there is yesterday's a recent judgment again, which says that whatever penalty are applicable to a proprietary firm shall automatically apply to proprietor because both are same in the eyes of law. Now, this particular later part, which was amended, that is where it is given to a registered person shall not be exempt, created this practical challenge that if a proprietor is taking this particular entity on rent, whether this exception will not give the exemption or whether the exemption will still continue. So to answer that, this explanation was later on added. Please read the explanation.
Explanation. For the purpose of the exemption under this entry shall cover services by renting of residential dwelling to a registered person where the registered person is proprietor of the proprietorship concern and rents the residential dwelling in his personal capacity for use as his own residence. And such renting is on his own account and not that of the proprietorship concern.
Simple. So where the proprietor, in my example, Swaminathan, has taken this flat of mine on rent, though he is holding a GST registration, obviously in his proprietary firm, but that also covers him because the PAN number is same. But where he is not going to book this rent as an expense of his proprietary firm, rather he will consider it as his personal expense. Then we continue this exemption. So that will not be hit by the above exception. But where he is going to book this expense in his books of account as a business expense, in that case, the exception will be triggered and this particular renting will become taxable in the hands of Swaminathan under RCM. I hope this is clear. Now, after this explanation, which was all added in 2022, there was another big dispute relating to hostels. Now, the first question was, hostels are covered in this exemption. Now we have two judgments, what I remember. Maybe there are only two, not a third and fourth, but the two judgments, one from Karnataka High Court, one from Madras High Court, both saying that renting this of residential dwelling units even cover hostels because hostels are also like residential dwelling units. Now, because of these judgments, there was again a confusion that when hostels are given on rent, whether they will be covered under this. Now, firstly, where hostels are run by schools or educational institutions themselves, we don't require this exemption entry because in the education services, they will get covered, they will be exempt fully. However, where hostels are not run by education institution, they are run by some private entities, maybe for students or maybe for other people. Like in many places, you have the working professionals who stay in hostels or the working women who stay in hostels. Now, in such cases, where such hostels or another term is used, paying guests, these type of services are provided, whether they get covered under this exemption entry. Technically, yes, because of the judgments as I quoted, one from Karnataka High Court and the other from Chennai High Court, latest judgment, Madras High Court. Now, because of these judgments, the law came up with this next latest amendment that is in the form of explanation 2, saying that they may be covered in the original entry, but we are removing it from this entry. Now they have created another exemption entry, which we are going to read below. But firstly, the explanation 2 has been recently added to remove hostel services from this exemption entry. Now, because of this, hostels run will not be covered in this, even though maybe principally hostels may be a residential dwelling unit, but now they have been specifically removed from this exemption entry. Please read.
Explanation 2. Nothing contained in this entry shall apply to accommodation services for student in student residence, accommodation service provided by hostels, camps, paying guest accommodation, and like that. Thus,
Both, no, you need not read that. So both types are now excluded from this one, where a hostel is exclusively for students. So we have many hostels, private hostels for students, that is removed from this. And also where it may not be for students, it may be for working people, maybe for women, or it may be in the form of PG. All these have been removed from here. Why? Because now you have a separate entry for covering these. So now these are covered separately under 12A. Hence, they have been removed from here. Is this fine? Now, let us come to 12A.
12A. Supply of accommodation service having value of supply less than or equal to 20,000 rupees per person per month, provided that the accommodation service is supplied for a minimum continuous period of 90 days.
Now, this accommodation service, 12A, what it says. So where there is a hostel. Now, even though they have not used the word hostel, basically this amendment is brought along with addition of that explanation, and it is exclusively for covering the hostel. So firstly, they have removed hostel and PGs from the above exemption entry. Why? They did not want to give a blanket exemption. See, above entry is giving a blanket exemption irrespective of the amount. Now here they have created a conditional exemption. What is the condition or conditions? First, the per month rent of such hostel should not exceed 25,000. Now, interestingly, here they are saying per person, because in hostels you will find that you may not be hiring the entire room. Your room may be having other students or other people also. So you are paying only for your accommodation. So that is why they have made this 20,000 rupees is per person, not per room. So here it is per person per month. And second, they are saying that there should be a minimum period of 90 days for accommodation. So where you are taking this for a short period, still it will become taxable. So a short period accommodation is not covered and a high value accommodation is not covered. So basically this entry is for targeting all these hostels and all these PGs or all these working professionals or working women's hostels or accommodation units. They are all covered in 12A. Okay. Next, some more.
Sorry, I have one query. Is that is applicable to hotel if that the room is not available on the PG accommodation? If the student or the person is staying at the hotel for the more than 90 days, the less than the 20,000 rupees, is that exemption provided in this
Yes,
12?
yes, yes. That is why I say they have not purposefully used the word hostel here. So any accommodation anywhere which is satisfying both these conditions will be covered. But practically it is very difficult because generally you will not stay in a hotel on a daily basis and also for a continuous period of 90 days. But if it is there, then see, then the hotel becomes a hostel. Now see, what is the difference between a hotel and a hostel? In fact, we have judgments for that also. What is the difference between a hostel and all these hotels? So hotels are those which are for shorter period stay, which may be 1 day, 2 day, 1 week, not more than that. And that is why they have purposefully kept a period of 3 months here. See the linkage, how they have tried. So they have not used the word that this is covering only hostel or this is excluding hotels. So any accommodation can be covered with the condition that the minimum continuous, this is also important, continuous period. So continuous means once you join, you will be there for 90 days. Now, why they have used the word continuous? Because it may happen that you may be visiting a hotel on regular basis and in a year it will become 90 days. Very much possible. So let us say you are staying in Chennai and you have your some clients or your audits in Coimbatore. So regularly you are traveling from Chennai to Coimbatore and every time you stay in a hotel. Many times what you do, then you do tie up with a hotel so that you get a good price. And let us say that hotel is providing you at a very good competitive rate, and every time you go and stay in that hotel only. Now in this particular case, let us say throughout the year, the total number of stay may exceed 90 days. And let us say if you average out, the per month charge may come to less than 20,000 because the person is giving you at a very concessional rate. But they do not want to give this exemption to them. That is why the word continuous is used. So even though hostel, hotels, these terms are not used, but indirectly they are covering hostels only and they are indirectly excluding hotels. But if, like what you said, I'm actually staying in a hotel, but on a continuous basis, exceeding 90 days, and let us say the per month charge is below 20,000, they can also very well enjoy this exemption. Fine?
Right, sir. Thank you.
Yes, but please read 19 and 19C.
19. Services by way of transportation of goods by on aircraft from a place outside India up to the customs station of clearance in India. 19C. Satellite launch services.
Okay, so 19 covers what? Goods transport service by aircraft. This is the first time we have seen transportation of goods by aircraft as exempt. All other exemption that we see was by GTA, by road, or by railway, or by vessel. Now, this is the only goods transport by aircraft which is exempt. But when it is from a foreign country to India, that is up to the custom stations. Why? Because anyways, that airfare charge is included in the value of goods. And when you are calculating customs duty on the value of import of goods, this freight is already covered in that, and hence they have excluded it from here, because otherwise there will be double taxation. Similarly, now we all know that India is gaining supremacy in this particular service, whereby satellites are being launched for various foreign governments, various foreign bodies. In fact, even if I'm not wrong, Tesla has got many of its satellites launched by India. And interestingly, now not only ISRO, that is the government body, but there are now many private agencies also who are engaged in this particular service of launching satellite. So whoever is providing this service, all services, whether by ISRO, that is government body, or by private bodies relating to satellite launch, will be exempt. Next, 22 covers what? 22 is covering services of giving on hire. Now, importantly, 22 covers the services where I am providing a bus to the government transport. Now, we have different government transports operating in different states. Like in Maharashtra, we have the MSRTC, Maharashtra State Road Transport Corporation. You have the Gujarat Road Transport Corporation. In fact, in Karnataka, everywhere, you have the state-run transport corporations who are running the buses generally. Now, either the government purchases these buses outright, but many times what the government do is they will not purchase these buses, they will rent these buses. Now, I am the person who is going to rent the bus to government transport undertaking. So I am giving the buses. What are buses? Buses are the means of transport. So where I am giving on rent, on hire, the buses to the state transport undertakings, then the rent which I am charging is what is exempt under 22. So 22 is not covering the transport services. It is covering the renting of bus services, where I'm giving this renting of bus either to state transportation bodies or now even to local authorities. Now, to local authorities, what I'm giving is electrically operated vehicles. Now, you will find that in many states, the road transport buses are EV buses, and these EV buses, governments have not purchased themselves to unnecessarily avoid the blocking of their money. Rather, I, as a private person, has purchased them and I have given it on long-term lease or hire to the government. That is what is exempt. Similarly, where I am purchasing trucks and I am giving this truck to any GTA on rent. So see, where GTA is giving you transport service, we already read the exemption. Now it is the previous leg of it. The GTA require trucks to run its transport service. I am giving the trucks to the GTA. So what I'm giving to the GTA is a means of transport. What are this? This is trucks. Similarly, I am again giving on rent what? Motor vehicle for transport of students, faculty, etc. to a person providing the service of transportation. So again, we saw in case of education service, the transportation of student is exempt. So let us say when school is giving the transportation service to students, that is exempt. And we saw in the same entry when when the school is receiving this service, that inward service is also exempt for school up to standard 12. But for these, they will require the buses to run. Now again, it was the old model where they were purchasing the buses. Now the new model since past 10 years is they hire out the buses. And again, I am that investor. So I am a person whose business is buying these trucks, buying these road transport buses, or buying the school buses and giving it on rent to all these bodies. So whatever rent I'm earning by giving these buses, trucks, or school buses, the rent is fully exempt. So that is what is this exemption entry dealing. Next, the toll charges that you pay on various toll highways, that is what is exempt. The toll charges have been made exempt. Then the electricity transmission and distribution service. which is charged by the electricity transmission or distribution utility. And these utilities are the utilities which are run by the state government. They are what, that is what is exempt. Now here, there is an important clarification. What is the clarification? CBIC has clarified that other services by these distribution companies are not exempt. Only the service of distribution, transmission of electricity is exempt, but where other charges like meter equipment charge, or you have to pay some form fee at the time of application, or some transfer fee for shifting your meters or testing your meters, all these ancillary charges are not exempt. Swaminathan, please read.
Yes, sir. 25. Transmission distribution of electricity by an electricity transmission distribution
25A. 25A. I have read
25.
25. I have explained 25. Yes.
Okay, sir. 25A. Supply of services by way of providing metering equipment on rent, testing for meters, transformer, capacitor, etc. Releasing electricity connection, shifting of meter, service line, issuing duplicate bills which are incidental or ancillary to the supply of transmission and distribution of electricity provided by electricity transmission and distribution utilities to their consumers.
Now see what has happened. We are shifting from ownership model to renting model. Like earlier, we were buying these equipments, the meters and all. Now it has changed to taking all these things, the metering equipment on rent for testing of meters, etc. So when these electricity companies were earlier buying these equipments, now they are taking the equipments on rent. Again, the rental charges for providing these equipments on rent to the electricity transmission companies is now what is exempt. Please read next one.
Okay, sir. Entry number 44. Services provided by an income company up to total turnover of 50 lakhs in financial year subject to the following condition, namely the total turnover had not exceeded rupees 50 lakhs during the preceding financial year and a period of 3 years has not elapsed from the date of entering into an agreement as an incubity. What is this? Incubity.
It is see it is incubator. Now see again, just remember in all these things we are shifting from ownership model to rental model. Now what is this incubator? So incubati are the software engineers. I'll give you a very simplified practical example of this. Now let us say you all are software engineers, or let us say now you are those AI developers. Now you have the specialized skills of developing the AI tools and selling. So you are the entrepreneurs who want to be in the business of developing these softwares or AI tools, but you do not have the capital to set up your own business because your business requires firstly the space plus all the latest gadgets, the high-end internet services where you can sit and develop these tools and apps and sell it to the world. Again, I, as an investor comes in, I'm the incubator. What I will do is I will set up a whole building. This building will have all high-end facilities which are required by you, that is the software or the app developers. Then I will give you one room or one floor on rent. So this is where this model of incubati comes in. Now here, in this particular point, what is exempt is the service provided by incubati to the world. So as an incubati, what you are doing is you are coming into my organization. Firstly, there is an agreement between you and me whereby you are hiring that particular space, and this space is with all high-tech facilities including laptop systems, cloud, everything is provided in that for some monthly charge. That is also exempt, but that is afterwards. Here what is exempt is the services which you will be providing to the world in the form of development of the softwares or development of the apps which you will be selling to the world. That is what is exempt in this. For this, the condition is that your turnover should not be above 50 lakhs and this exemption will be up to maximum 3 years. Go ahead, please.
Entry number 44A, research and development services against consideration received in the form of grants supplied by a government entity or a research association, university, college, or other institution notified under Class 2 or Class 3 of the subsections 1 of the Section 35 of the Income Tax Act 1961. The condition to be fulfilled in this case is that the research association, university, college, or other institution notified under Class 2 or Class 3 of subsection 1 of Section 35 of the Income Tax Act 1961 is so notified at the time of supply of the research and development service.
So, what is this particular point? The research and development services are exempt. But when they are exempt, where there is a consideration. Now, the consideration here is in the form of grant given by government, but it is not a grant in the original sense because it is very specific to this R&D. So, where R&D is done and against giving that R&D, you are getting a grant. So, it is like a consideration. That is what is exempt. Now, here the services of incubator is exempt. That is where the incubators are charging to the incubatees the monthly rent. That is what is exempt. And then these small services are exempt, like collecting or providing news by independent journalists. Then where you join any public library and you pay the monthly library charges, that is exempt. Where a service is by way of the organizer. You are organizer of what? Exhibitions. So you are booking the stalls where different businesses are coming to you and they are participating in your exhibition, and they are paying you the stall rent. That will be exempt provided the exhibition is held outside India. Then tour operator services, which are performed partly in India and partly outside, and these are supplied by a tour operator to foreign tourists. So where foreign tourist is visiting India and the tour operator is providing the tour planning services to foreign tourists, then there is an exemption. Next, services which are by way of preconditioning, pre-cooling. Now this is what, in case of fruits, many times you take the fruits in their very raw form. They are plucked from the trees and then they are preserved. During the preservation, they are either ripened artificially, or many times there is some waxing done on these fruits. There is some retail packaging done. So all these services relating to fruits and vegetables have been made exempt. Again, services provided by specific bodies like NCCD under the Ministry of Agriculture, etc., is exempt. Services by foreign diplomatic missions are exempt. So now these are all services which are all very specific case-to-case services. When you use any public washrooms, you have to pay some nominal charge. That is also exempt. So these are some very generic services which have been made exempt. Now, besides the above services, we have some other services which are there only in the IGST. Why? Because these are all international services. They are not domestic, so they cannot come in the CGST, SGST. So these are some exemptions which are exclusively for IGST. Let us read them. Please read first one.
Yes, sir. Services received from the provider of service located in a non-taxable territory by the central government, state government, union territory, a local authority, a governmental authority, or individual in relation to any purpose other than the commerce, industry, any other business or profession. B. An entity registered under Section 12AA, 12AB of the Income Tax Act 1961 for the purpose of providing charitable activities, or by way of supply of online educational journal or periodical to an educational institution other than an institution providing service by way of preschool education and education up to higher secondary school or equivalent, or education as part of an approved vocational education course. C. A person located in a non-taxable territory. However, the exemption shall not apply to online information and database access or retrieval services received by persons specified in entry A or entry B.
Now, all these are services provided by a foreigner. Why foreigner? Because what it says, services received from a provider of service, and the provider of service is in the non-taxable territory. So where a foreigner is providing services to government or to entity which is registered under trust for their charitable activities, or by way of providing online educational journal to your school institutions, or to a person who is again in some other foreign country, all these exemptions will not apply. All these are exempt and no GST will apply. The only exception is that where this foreign service provider is providing OIDER services, and these OIDER services are received by persons specified in A or B, then that is what is taxable. Other than that, all other services provided by a foreigner to an Indian is exempt. Please read entry 2.
Yes, sir. Import of services by an establishment of a foreign company in India, which is a airline company, from a related person or from any of its other establishments outside India, when made without consideration. Explanation: foreign company shall have the same meaning as assigned to it in subsection 42 of section 2 of the Companies Act 2013.
So
Condition
what is
to
this? Now see, this is very limited, very specific to airline companies. Now what happens? Every airline company which is operating international flights have their counterpart outside India. Now, what happens? That counterpart and this Indian entity would be between them having multiple exchange of services. Now, they do not want to make those exchange between them as taxable. Hence, this exemption has been provided. Next, services provided by a tour operator to a foreign tourist in relation to conduct of tour is exempt. Services supplied by an establishment of a person in India to any establishment of that person outside India, which are treated as distinct persons, is what is exempt. Import of service by United Nations or a specified international organizations for their official use is exempt. Import of service by foreign diplomatic mission or consular post in India, that is what is exempt. Services provided by an intermediary where all these conditions are satisfied, where both supplier and recipient are outside India. So you are an intermediary in India, but you are helping two people do business and both the people are outside India. Again, that service is exempt. So you have a list of these services where the services which are carried out in terms of international transactions are exempt. So this is what is the list of entire exemption. Please, I'll request that you go through all these and use this last part, which is let us recapitulate for a quick revision. So this part is the best part because this chapter was very lengthy. We covered it over 3 long sessions, but this part will help you summarize it for exams. So that's it all from my side, students. I hope you all understood each and every point that we discussed. There were so many different types of entries, but I'm sure I could explain and you understood all of them with the details required. So with this, we end today's session. We catch up again in
So
future or other sessions.
I
Yes.
have a, I have a question on this entry 25 and 25A. In
Okay.
25A, it is saying it is exempting the services, same services which are being liable to GST in entry 25. I want to know why there is this difference.
Which
On one side, they
25
are
and 25 you are talking about?
transmission, distribution of electricity.
Sir, page number 4.112
112, yes, 4.112.
and 113. The same question is arising to me as well when I'm studying that.
Hmm.
See, for example, on the page, if you look at page number
Yes,
4.112 on 25, on the point number
25
5,
is on the
some of
previous
these are
previous
duplicate
one.
bill.
So now what is your question?
The question is on one side, they are exempting it in 25A
Hmm.
to the services provider by providing these services of meters, transformers, capacitors, releasing electricity connection, shifting of meters, etc. And about is liable to GST,
Hmm.
the same services. So I want to know
Hmm.
why on one side they are making it liable to GST, on another side they are giving exemption,
Yeah.
same services.
Yeah. See, frankly speaking, many times there are no reasonable logics to things. Many times these are either policy decisions or many times these are politically inflicted decisions. So I also agree that here, when the electricity transmission companies are providing these services to the customers, you are saying that it will be leviable to GST. But when for providing the above services, they are taking the respective equipments on rent, like they have said that the services by way of providing these metering equipments on rent, testing for meters, etc., realizing electricity connection, shifting of meters, issuing duplicate, etc., which are incidental or ancillary to supply of this provided by electricity, they are making it exempt. Now, what I read, if I have to be reading it very fine, here, when this inward supply for your electricity supply companies is exempt, when it is incidental or ancillary to transmission of and distribution of electricity. And here I believe these are all independent supplies. So these are taxable when they are independent and they are not incidental. And here exemption is only when they are incidental or ancillary, means they become part of the main supply like a composite supply. So this is the only reason which I can figure out when you read this. Otherwise, there is no logic. Many times you'll find that certain things are done. Like today, we are having a lot of roadblock with USA on different issues. Now, tomorrow, let us say to remove those roadblocks, the government may decide to provide a very special exemption for some specific services relating to US. That may not have any logical sense, but that are the decisions which are because of policy. So it can be one of these, or maximum, if I have to draw some logical reason, I'm drawing only this logical reason that only when these other services are cumulatively provided along with transmission of electricity, whereby automatically these services should also become exempt because they are part of the composite supply. That is where I think this particular inward service will get exempt. So this is the only logic if I can draw. Fine.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much for explaining.
Perfect. Yes, students. So we conclude our session here. So thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
In future for further topics. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Ashok ji, good day.